and welcome to Finextra. I'm Emily Haller at Cybos 2015 and I'm joined by Simon Taylor of Barclays. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
So you spoke at one of Cybos' sessions on blockchain. Is blockchain one of the hottest fintech topics, and do Cybos delegates really understand its potential?
So is it one of the hottest topics in fintech? Almost certainly yes. Gartner put blockchain at the top of the hype cycle, and they did that for a reason. I think it's massively misunderstood. Fortunately, the topic has changed from being Bitcoin is really evil, we want to get away from it, to we like the technology, and that's progress. But I think there's still a lot of confusion about what is it. And that's why I think the session was so popular. People really want to understand the technology, and I think it's very important that you do understand it. But I think more importantly than understanding it, you need to know how it's going to impact your business. How's it going to make a difference to your customers? How's it going to make a difference from a cost standpoint? How's it going to make a difference from a regulatory standpoint? And it can hit all of those things. There's a lot of hype, but there is some reality there. And only by getting your hands dirty and playing with the technology yourselves can you really get that hands-on understanding of what's going to work practically and what's not going to work.
So what are the practical implications of blockchain on the financial industry in, say, the next 12 months?
I think in the next 12 months, the technology is still very, very early. But I think, as I mentioned briefly, we've moved from Bitcoin bad, blockchain good. We're going to start moving into, I can use this bit of the ideas in blockchain in this way. So Barclays announced in the Barclays Accelerator in New York, we had a company called Wave. We've signed an agreement with that company to do an electronic bill of lading in trade finance on a blockchain, which is, I think, a bit of a watershed moment to move from experimenting with blockchain technology to actually using live customer data. Okay, it's in a pilot, it's very restricted, and we're going to work very closely with all of our compliance teams and all of our control teams to keep it as safe as we possibly can and limit it. But we really want to learn if the promise of this technology that everybody says is actually real. Will we see that payback? So as a practical example, I often look for where is there a lot of paper process that crosses industries. Classic example is trade finance. Not only have you got banks involved, but you've got manufacturers, buyers, sellers, shipping companies. And the fact that it's such a complex value chain means that you really have to have a technology that's good at crossing those complex value chains. Traditionally, we had two choices. We could centralize, and Vocalink is a good example. Faster payments is a good example of centralization. Standardization was the other option, and Swift is a fantastic example of standardizing. But you notice in both of those examples, it's only banks that are involved in using them. Where you have those multiple industry participants, blockchain really comes into its own. And we've relied on paper to really cross those organizational boundaries historically. Blockchains may be able to do that, and in the next 12 months, practically, I think we're going to prove that one way or another in the short term.
And what do you think about banks? Can they really hold their own in innovation against fintech startups?
So it's interesting you say against fintech startups. I think that's a false dichotomy. Really, what I've been very fortunate in the past 12, 18 months in Barclays to benefit from has been learning from startups. We have our own Barclays Accelerator program powered by Techstars, but we also do a lot of outreach at every event we go to. We really want to grow bigger ears and learn more from startups. Come into our spaces, come into our Rise Global platform and talk to us about what is it you need. So listening and learning from them is really, really important. We need to transform our business. We need to learn from the brightest and best out there, and often they're in startups. Similarly, if you're in fintech, there's a lot of regulation that goes with finance and technology, and maybe there's something you can learn from banks as well. We have a lot of experience locked up in Barclays. We've been keeping payments safe for over 325 years. That experience can benefit startups. So really it's a two-way dialogue. Actually, I don't think it's just pure competition. Yes, okay, the things may change. Things that banks were doing may be done by fintech startups, but actually, fintech startups are great customers of Barclays and great partners of Barclays, and we see that only growing going forward.
That's great, Simon. Thank you for speaking with me.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching.